Welcome back to the Bobcat e26 from earlier videos. Returning customer. We got a broken window. This will be the second window I get to fix on this machine, and we're going to do a service on it, adjust some tracks, clean it out, filters, fluids. This is all holding up good. I got to do a new cylinder. I was going to rebuild this one, but the rod is bent. It has worn on the aluminum gland nut. These are aluminum, and also took damage to the outside of the barrel. Long story, could be repaired, but it's not much to get a whole new one. In this case, due to the damage and the bent rod, because the shield is gone that protects the cylinders. And do a couple new steel lines coming up here where these took damage, and kind of get this thing in a little bit better shape than when it arrived. So stay tuned and we'll see what all we can find. I'll get you set up and we'll start on this thing. Alrighty, I took the floor plate off here because one of the concerns is that intermittently it'll bog down and lose some power. In the past on this particular machine, it's fuel filters has taken care of anything like that, but I want to double check that we don't have maybe a pickup tube issue, which I don't even know if it has, but I just wanted to rule it out. I can't remember what this has. I'm pretty sure it has one. And then it also has that primer ball on these. Yeah, this should be where the pickups are, right here. So I'm going to take a peek at that, make sure that there's nothing going on there and that it's clean. And I'll look inside the tank. Then it comes around to this primer ball, which these are one-way little check valves, and I've had those mess up, but it's just so intermittent. And runs good when it does run. So something we'll look at. Let's see, I did this 3,197 hours. I did some shop vac in here and left that out of the video so you didn't have to watch. So we're at, let's look at what hours we're at. Yeah, 3,689. Let me write that down. Somewhere. Oh, here it is. Got shit everywhere. 3,689 hours on it currently. Last service was 3,197. So current 3,689, last done at 3,197, which is the difference of 492 hours. So that's quite a bit of hours on it. I try to do 250 hours on equipment, but time gets away from some people. But worst case, 500 shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it just depends on how dirty your fuel is and how they fill the diesel fuel up with these on the job. Is it from cans, multiple different cans? Is it from transfer tanks? And just over time, dirt gets in the system. So fuel filters are a cheap check. Like I said, I'm going to try to look inside here. These plastic tanks, all the way back to MTD lawnmowers, they use these rubber grommets, and the little pipe nipple pushes in there. I'll show you here. I stock them. Yeah, so here's an example. Here's one for a dingo or anything. The 3/8 nipple there goes through this rubber grommet. When it does, is it expands out and seals the hole. So those can go bad. I know we had one on this machine years ago. Right under here, right here. This one went bad, and you wouldn't believe it. That's the drain, so it drains the whole tank everywhere, and that was the last time I had that off. And out in the field, I couldn't get, no one stocks those, that's why I do it now. I ended up using a 3/8 bolt, shouldered bolt, and put it through, and that took care of it, and it's still, years later, going strong. But cheap fix, but an expensive repair because you lose all your diesel fuel. So that's something that's one of the main concerns is the intermittent power loss, which I did experience when testing it, and of course everything else I already told you about. So let me get a couple more things off here, and we will move to probably changing the cylinder and some lines and see how that goes. Alrighty, I'm gonna get these filters out here, and I got a drain pan I put underneath here. I'm gonna get that oil draining while we're working up top. I'll pull the dipstick, that way the oil flows instead of burps. And that's nothing super amazing down there. Basically, oil drains, that plug makes the pan, and then you can stick your hand up in here. I'll show you where the oil filter is on these e26s. These out. Winner looks like it came out with it. Fairly dirty. So we'll get the outer and inners changed. No big deal. Always a good idea to replace them both. I've seen people do an outer only if the inner was good, but I like to do it both. Let's see here. Let's get it off here. Definitely nice when these machines fit in your shop instead of doing them outside. Alright, check belts and hoses for wear tracking. So make sure they're tight. I just got antifreeze is a little low, but I do not have propylene glycol. I only have ethylene glycol. This calls for propylene, so I'll pick some up. I think Bobcat calls it Bobcat PG. So I do not have that. So I'll have to pick some up. And over here on this side, we'll get all this cleaned out. It's very common to have a bunch of debris. Got washer fluid topped off, and how bad that cylinder's leaking, you probably can't see it, but this is the sight glass for the hydraulics, and you have a chart, and there is no fluid in the sight glass, so leaking plenty of fluid out to where she needs topped off, and I'm sure they were checking it. I don't know if the audio is messed up there or not, but I found my mic. Let's see here. We got another couple hydraulic filters here, primary and a secondary. We'll get those changed out. Found more glass down here. Some broken zip ties. Oh wow, those are all broken. So we'll get that done. We'll test the battery. Fairly clean though. I don't see anything super wet. And we'll shop back out anything we can. AC lines and hoses. Temperature actuator. So we'll, like I said, check out everything. It's always good to get a visual on it all and make sure that you touch it and see that it's okay. Got evaporator drains here. So make sure those are good. And I can't remember if we ordered new cabin air filters or not. We'll clean the coolers out. So what I'll do now is we'll get the drain plug in, because it is a bear to get up in there and do the oil filter. I'm going to see if I can show you where that's at. Alright, so in this cover here, you can kind of see way up in there, it's the oil filter. So it's in a great spot. I'm going to get that changed real quick and get my hand back out of there. Alright, got the new one up in there. And now I rotate this plate. Get that plate put back here. And I got hardware here somewhere. Put this plate right there. Get a little bit of lube on them. Threads never hurt anybody. So we'll run those back up. Good as new. Move on to the other filters. Double check the dipstick. Wipe it off. Got the new inner and outer. So fairly simple, definitely basic. It's not a whole lot terribly wrong with the machine right now. So let me grab engine oil. There is, can't remember how many this takes, but I am going to mark it down for sure after this. Usually I do. And after the first of the year, I'll switch to a new oil pump system. No more jugs. Not that this is a big deal. All right, put the whole 7 quarts in. We'll check it. I think once we start it, it's going to be right on the money. We'll find out. All right. So now we'll hit up the fuel filter, and then we can get the hydraulic filters going. So let me let's get you over there. I marked all the filters already. All right. Filter clamp wants to come apart on me a little bit. This thing's been sitting in here, so it helps to, with that oil filter, for instance, that it didn't have oil in it at the time. So I'll get this filter out of the way and pre-fill the other one. All right, got the new filter pre-filled. Get it spun up in here. Wipe up the residual. On these, I definitely pre-fill all my diesel fuel filters. It's definitely recommended, unless you got like an electric primer. This one has this little ball, which you would prime. You would open up the bleeder here, and then you can prime it, and it will draw fuel in. You can hear it. It's like a little boat primer. And then sometimes you can prime it to where you hear the return into the tank. But we're pretty much good since I filled the filter up. So we'll move it to the hydraulic filters. 2 new hydraulic filters. And I usually just get these swapped out as quick as possible. Get a little bit of new fluid on the O-ring. Then it goes back up. Slippery. Weather dependent, I usually try to wash all these machines when I'm done. They definitely need them. Lube the O-ring. Get them about as tight as you can get them. Says once it's snug and you oil the O-ring, it wants a half a turn. So you don't have to put a wrench on them and just keep cranking on them. There is such a thing called too tight. All right. Got that going for me. So I'm gonna pause here and just try to get this cleaned up more. Shot back out what I can. Test that battery, which I remember changing it. I don't think it's that old. I think there'd be a sticker on it. It's not looking like it, but we'll get her tested and then I'll bring you guys back so you don't have to see how good I am at shop backing and cleaning. All right, I got everything cleaned out of here, got fresh zip ties, and did a little bit of there's couple rub through wires here that I just replaced with butt splice connectors, heat shrink, and covered them up with some what I call wire loom or convoluted tubing there. Zip tied it, got it all cleaned off, battery tested good. And right here is the hydraulic oil, real hard to see now, but it is where it should be. All I did was take the cap off and then I used my pump to pump in fluid, which this is great for on the service truck. It's great for in the shop, but like I said, after the first of the year, I'll have a pump for most universal hydraulic fluid, which would be okay in this one, but if it takes high train or something, I'll still use this pump, which I really do like, and works out. I know Milwaukee's got a nice electric one, but usually as long as I have air, this one works great. I'll get you set up here. We'll put this cover back on. I'll be back over here again to check fluid once I start it. But I got this hydraulic cylinder to change as it is just sitting here leaking without even messing with it. Alrighty, this cylinder is just letting her leak right now. Drips down. So turn this air purifier off or whatever. Helps with the heat too, but get these lines cracked loose. So I have the barrel line and that piston line, or just which is just two hydraulic lines. There's a short steel line here we'll be replacing because it's damaged. But I'll have to pull this pin out and this pin out, and that is why I have the gantry crane holding this arm up as well, so nothing happens here when I relieve pressure on this cylinder, which I'll throw a couple little pads here for quick little stuff. But still, not a big deal. Kind of an insert tab A and a slot B kind of setup because it's just a simple hydraulic cylinder. But let's see here. We'll get some caps. Whether or not all these will work, we'll find out. They should. Alrighty. See about cracking this line loose first. Got a cap on there. Wiggle if anything's gonna come out. There we go, and I'll throw a cap on the cylinder just to prevent a mess. Or I can get that over a bucket. One thing I try not to do is hit my head a million times. We might change this loom clamp. It's seen better days since it got smashed, but I don't see any damage through this protective hose. All right, so lines off, capped. Oh, I don't have one on this. What I'll do is I'll undo the steel line and throw a cap on it. We're replacing the steel line anyway because this one is damaged. So just match up the cap, put it on, and I'll show you guys the That's the damaged steel line. So this clamp we could reuse, it's good, but the other one not so much. So this will get thrown in the scrap. Because here is the new one. Looks a lot different. A lot less damage. So set that down. See about, take a snap ring off here. Just trying to see if that's gonna loosen up the washer. There we go. Just tap it. And then on this side, I have a bolt that holds that pin in. Right here. See what size it is. 16. And a 17. Could put the impact on here, but spend a little bit more time looking. Need to use my hand more. Come on, we're so close. There we go. Now that pin, I'll get a punch, see if we can knock it through. See if I got one of those. Excellent. I'm sure it's been greased enough. All right, that's good. I got the one pin moving. I went ahead and tapped it too. So let me get air hammer, see if that's going to help us here. If not, we'll get a bigger punch, bigger hammer. All right, so what happened here? This lower pin was pretty stuck, but we ended up getting it with the hammer on this top pin, which is well, it's not aluminum, but it's soft enough that in the past hitting it out has mushroomed the one end, so I took the snap ring off and ran it the opposite direction, and I could clean that up in the lathe or just hit it with the grinder just for a split second and it'll be fine. There we go. Get this cylinder set out of the way. And this is brand new knuckle, as seen in an earlier video. So, and new pins, so I'm not worried about that. So we'll get this wiped down and get the new one up there. Make sure you can see. Yep, you can see both here. So I'll do the same thing, kind of set the new one up there. Let me get some things ready here. All right, help arrived, cylinder swapped out real quick. He didn't miss nothing. Hung the cylinder on my punch. Just got it resting there. I'm gonna hook some lines up. Also, I did not show earlier when I had this cylinder prepped is that you also pound in new lip seals here on each end of the cylinder, which help with keeping dirt and debris out, and also with greasing. So something that is important. So let me grab this steel line. Bring you in here a little closer. Yep, we'll go with this one. Keep these caps. They're good caps. This one must have a little bit more paint on it. New line. That'll go here. All right. I also have a new loom clamp for that. Actually, got to clock it a certain way here. And the bolt. That'll hold that line in place. And that'll get connected to this hose. Must not have grabbed the right. There it is. I'm using my fingers here to set the distance on the line. There we go. So a nice even gap there. And I will get this lifted into place here. Probably throw a little strap to help hold it up. It's not really a wrong way to do it. It's just however you can get it. Got a long way to get this gantry chain. There we go, we'll just set that in there. And I'll drive that pin in just a little bit. That way it don't fall off. There we go. That's nice. Just have to get everything lined up just right here. There we go. Not too shabby. I need to go a little bit more here. And then if I want to straighten out that pin, a lot of times I'll use what I call lady finger. Nope. Nope, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Yahtzee. There we go. There's a 17 and a 16. And if you end up damaging the threads, which can happen, you just get another one. Just get another one. I had already kind of lined that, left that pin where it was at when it came out, so it was close. There we go. She's good. So now that it will just pivot, I will lift this up with this other chain hoist and got the line hooked up right here. Bring it back over to the cap. And it was on there just enough to not make a mess. Brand new steel line. You have to seat that little ferrule that's in there. Doesn't fit that line. All right, she's on there. So what I'll do is we'll get this machine fired up and extend that out, which we haven't started it yet. So I'll get that going here. So I'm all fired up. I'm gonna prime the filter one more time with that little pump I told you about. Glow plug it here. And I'm going to try to just extend this cylinder out just a little bit to where I can just lift it up in. out just a little bit more. Since I'm by myself, I'll just extend it out just a little bit more at a time until it lines up. It is close. There we go. I'll watch that chisel. And it'll help hold it there. I need to go down just a little bit. Teeny bit more. Let's see what happens. Well, it's one way to do it. And I had already put some lube in that. Got to get this in the groove. Then I'll try to spin it just to make sure. And then we're going to send it back the other way. That way, she fits over here. Clean out the groove. About ready for another pin. And now a snap ring. There we have it. So that is on. And I'll get you in position to look at get this undone. We'll get in position to look at the steel plate, which I might have to get in the parts book because I think we need some more parts that I did not get. And usually they are the first part of the mini hoe to go missing or get damaged is this protective shield, but I kind of will show you how it works. So let me get you set up here. All right, so there is supposed to be, and it is not the greatest design, and it's not special to Bobcat. I mean, they're on many different excavators, even the Cat. Of course, someone probably makes them. Once you get down to this size of machine, they probably go down the same assembly line, because I know we got a Cat that we service, and it is identical to this machine, or well, probably size up. I mean, you could take the cylinders off and interchange them, which, you know, they're not specific cylinders to the manufacturer, at least in this situation. This guard system is the same. It's kind of a joke. But if you don't have at least the bolt in this system, the thing will just fall apart. Or not fall apart, I'm sorry. If you don't have the bolt in the system, it'll not take grease. The grease will just blow out here, and it won't spread out to where the rest of the pin is. So you put this spacer here, it goes up here, and then this bolt goes on, and then down here, which I still have to get, I thought he still had, but over here is two brackets that clamp down, and then as you extend the cylinder out, it slides in this channel and protects the rod. It's a safety, protecting that rod. So I like the theory of it. The design leaves a lot to be desired, but that's just how they are, and we're trying to put it back to help keep it nice. So I will have to get a couple brackets for here. I'll get in the parts book, and we'll go from there. I did do new loom clamp down here, and we got this is how the line looks on this side when it's not damaged. And we also have new grease fittings. So I'll get that greased as well. And still need to change out 2 damaged steel lines and 2 hydraulic hoses. And that'll just consist of pulling these line clamps off, fishing out the line and fishing in the new line, and I'll get you set up to kind of see that in quickly, and move on to double check what I wanted to show you in the cab. And just like that, lucky for you, that was pretty quick. So we got, this is where the connection is from steel to hose. Got that all tightened up, locked in the holder. Hoses loop up. One goes down to the barrel end of this cylinder, which you can see some damage here, but had to use a crow's foot on that because if I went to knock this pin out, it's a little stuck right now. So used a crow's foot there. This bolt was missing, secured that hose, locked this one in. Steel lines come up. They do a nice curve here, and they stay up and don't rub. And then comes down here and is locked down with these holders. So takes a little bit of time, but pretty basic. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts to hold it down, and then just remove the lines, fish them out. So hopefully that was easy for you to get an idea of, but had the luck of seeing it in fast forward. So that way we will move to the next part of this. Well, let's take a look here. Excuse me. This should be the return small line, so I'm thinking I can maybe pull it out. There we go. That O-ring looks all right. This one's the pickup tube. And I might as well take it out. There we go. It looks perfectly all right to me. Alrighty. So that's all that amounts to. Here's those rubber grommets. I'll wipe those off. Excuse me. Try to keep it away from the fuel tank. All right. And the rubber grommet will go in. There we go. So at least I laid eyes on the pickup tube and seems to be all right. So if we do have an issue, it's from here forward most likely. I feel confident in that. So I'll put the floor back in and then I'll leave the mat out because I still got to clean up glass. All right, next I want to show you checking these tracks for tension. Of course, you want to look for damage where they're ripping apart or have ripped apart, but I've already done these tracks before. Kind of keep them cleaned out. Any kind of track machine, you want to keep all the shit cleaned out of here. especially when things start to freeze. This one has 4 rollers underneath, which we're going to check for play and movement. But basically, unlike a huge excavator, they have a tight tolerance, which I feel like just makes these things like banjo tight. But basically, this most center roller, I believe it's, once it's lifted in the air, I'll have to double check, it's like 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to take a look at that here. What I'll do is I'll swing the machine around and put the bucket here and lift up this one side. Alright, let's bring you down here, take a look, see what we find. Yeah, see, that's, doesn't seem that bad to me, but it's not too far out. I believe they want 1/4 or 1/2 inch between here. I've just done enough of them to remember, so it really doesn't need much. Looks pretty good. I mean, you could almost get away with leaving it, but I'll show you what you do. You pop this window open here and you use a grease gun, and it pumps grease into a cylinder, and it pushes your front wheel out and tightens the track. So for sake of showing you, doesn't need a whole lot on this one. I'm going to try to do this with both hands, and here's a grease fitting. Let's see here. Oh, let's make sure I'm on it. And ever so slightly, that would tension up and push out, and eventually you'll run out of adjustment, and eventually have to replace the track. But while it's up, I try to check these rollers, which that one has just a little bit of play. I don't like to have a lot. Usually they don't have any on these little guys. Make sure they roll. And it rolls. Rolling. Oh, come on now. You gonna roll or not? Hang on. All right, just took 2 hands, but it is still rolling. So that's about as good as it's gonna get. I'll check the other side. Over here on the other side, and it needs adjusted. I did double check the spec for those. I don't know where it's at here. It was, check it here real quick on my phone. It's taking its time loading, evidently. Anyway, it was like 0.38 to 0.58, so quarter, that's what I said, I think before, to 1/2 inch. It's a 1/2 inch. So come down here, and they say it's on one of the center rollers, and you would just double check between here and here. You can use a bolt for reference, but the flat spot on the pulley. So on these, I'm just going with a 1/2 inch. I can go a little tighter, but I mean, it just gets it pretty tight, so it's just something to keep in mind. So let me set you down here. And just like that, it came up, and I can get my finger in there. I can go just a hair more. Let's get you back here. Much better. So I'll get this cover put back on, and that's a little bit of the basics. And again, you want to check your rollers, make sure none of these are worn out, and pretty basic check there, but that way they are not gonna come off on you. We can rotate it here. And then that way you can kind of look at it again, and it's good to go. Back window. Finally got all that glass and crap off of here. And got this scraped with a razor blade, and I'll wipe it down one more time, but I'm gonna put it in. And one thing I noticed was when I was shutting the door, it was a little loud. And come to find out, the lower piece of glass was halfway off. So I had to get that cut out, get this scraped, and then I'm going to clean it off. And here's the piece of glass I managed to get out in one piece, so I will final prep this. And then here is the new back glass. Final prepped, I'll wipe it down again, and I have a weather stripping that they use. You know, not needed. You could have just glued it in place, but I'll get that adhered in place. Here's what I usually use. Window weld 3M, super fast. And I have a suction cup here to help me. And then if not, Bobcat recommends, and it comes in a Bobcat box, but it is actually Taroson, or Taros On, but basically it's the same thing but another brand. So I'll start with that and work my way around, put some pressure on it, and then I'll probably tape this up as well. I hate doing duct tape and stuff because it leaves, look what it does here, how long they had it taped up with cardboard. And then this one, I'll just put a little bit of weight on it. Once it's on, I got the door off. And if you guys seen my earlier video on this machine, the top window had to be replaced. And it's still holding very strong and better than the thin bead that the factory does. That is it. Just a little 1/8 inch to 3/8 and a couple blobs all the way around. Well, we're going to stick her tighter than that, that's for sure. So only way of getting it out next will be breaking it out. So let me get that. It's going to take both hands and we'll get her in place. Well, it's in. It's not too bad of a process, but process nonetheless. Got the weather stripping on there, seals it, and the door is all good to go too. I can do a little bit of cleanup, but I'll come back and hit some of that adhesive with the razor blade. But that ought to work. Doesn't have to be pretty all the time. So we'll touch it up with a razor blade. And then I already checked on the inside here. We got good squishing out, or whatever you want to call it, pressure. Basically I can see the adhesive all the way around. And that's what we want. Make sure it's got plenty. Definitely more than the dealer had. So good enough for me. All right, back to the cylinder guard. We're in place up here. You can actually grab a little bit of that extra grease and we'll come down here. So this guard will ride here, and there's a bolt on the top of this cylinder. This bracket has a hole for that. And that goes around it like so. And then the new one has nylon pieces that go on. You have to buy those separate. So I slid those on. We'll do a little bit of pre-lube. You can use spray lube, grease. This is just what's available. So then I'll slide that in here. And then that bracket will go around here. And then we put new bolts in. See if we can do this kind of one-handed with the help. And I got this. There we go. One nut there and a nut on the other side. I'll get these tightened down and I'll bring you right back. All right, this is the finished product. You got those two wear nylon blocks inside there. And what that does is, you know, you can spray lube this track, but it will, as you raise the boom up and down, which I will show you later, it just basically moves with it. And this is a protection for the cylinder. It's not really the greatest. Most of them, they're gone, but it does help if you maintain it. So it's supposed to be there. That's what we did. We put it back. So we'll get this thing buttoned up, let it sit, and then we'll do a test drive and see if we have any more running issues and see how it goes. here using this, trying to locate my electric, and it's been working just fine. Haven't got it to act up yet. I'm trying. I probably got an hour and a half on it, and so far no running issue. But ground's starting to freeze. Well, get up below that now. Well, been running her for a while now. Still haven't had any issues, so fuel filter alone can do that. Making sure your fuel lines are clean, the pickup tube wasn't messed up, and just keep an eye out for dirty fuel, or try to keep consistent pattern on how you fill the machine up. I see a lot of cans to transfer tanks to different gas stations, and you're going to get dirt in there one way or another, especially on the job site. So fuel filters are an important thing to change. So that alone could easily have taken care of the running issue. So we'll see what he says. I'll run it a little bit more, but I think that about does it for this one, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.